Welcome to another edition of the Sports War. And we are back. We got the full crew in the house. That is what it's all about. The Yankees, out of any team in the league, are the best equipped to handle a blow like this.
I think there is a higher power at play here. He's due law of averages. That dude is the ultimate scrub. It's trash. Yeah. Every person you have in there is fucking trash.
Next game, you're going to see a big performance. You can see it in the end of the game, and I'm just totally stoked and excited for this.
And we are back. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Board. And once again, it is the Barnes and Tony Show. Anthony, how are you, my friends?
I'm doing pretty well today. Nice Monday, dude. A little overcast, muggy the past few days, so not really happy about that. You know me, dude, but I'm excited to talk some sports today.
Excited to talk some sports. What a weekend it was. The baseball, golf. But I would like to start by giving a special shout out to everybody who played a hand in the surprise birthday party for me on Friday.
Dude.
That was unbelievable. So to everybody, to you, Tony, to Renee, to Michael, to Matthew, to Jay, for all my friends that came by as well, you know, to Pooch, to Jordan, to Jack, to Brandon, to John.
Don't forget anybody, Brian.
Riley.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else I'm forgetting?
I don't think so. You say Renee?
I did say Renee.
Okay,
yes. So I believe that's everybody.
Yeah. Beverly's Pizza, Southport Pizza,
the cookies,
the Knowlton.
But what a surprise! I have to say that one really got me, especially because it was kind of like a pump fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like you guys were there, so it seemed like, all right, yeah, we're gonna chill in that room, play some pong,
Right.
and then all of a sudden they walk in.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
Wow. Like I just did not see that coming. The pong games were unbelievable. I can't wait to see the footage on. What would you say realistically? I'm thinking that one pong game, double overtime. I want to say about 45 to 50 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 47 minutes, dude.
And it's just one of those things, and I know you're the same way. But it's pong. It's just a game, whatever. But it's like you saw it. Like I'm so into it.
Right.
I want to win so bad. Renee was right there.
She was laughing.
And it's just like I can't help it, Tony. I want to win more than anything. There's nothing that I enjoy more than competing, and I think that was pretty evident. On Friday night.
Dude. Yeah, you were hitting the wall and stuff.
Well, it was just crazy because there was two times. I think in our the first game that we won, and then obviously the second game we lost, but like the first game where it's like it seemed like it was completely over.
Yeah,
and it was like down
comeback.
to the last toss, and somehow that ping pong ball found a way to drop in. So that was unbelielievable. Very good there. So thank you guys again. That was good stuff. And I have to say too, luckily today feels a lot better. And I think it was a result of me favoring my right from batting practice. Was like very I don't know if it was arthritis or swollen right hand, but I was like gripping a lot tighter than with my other hand because of the swelling and stuff. So that was the one thing from batting practice. Definitely enjoyed taking some cuts though. And obviously, like we talked about, there's going to be more batting practice, more games in our future, Tony. So that was great.
Oh, definitely, dude. Yes, especially hopefully with some nicer weather, we can kind of get back to the field and just start hitting some dingers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, so much to talk about, but like we always do, we'll start with recapping the weekend's golf tournament, one in Cromwell, Connecticut, the Travelers Championship. I was there yesterday. What an environment. Had never been to a golf tournament before, and could not believe the fan support and just how awesome it was to not only walk a complete 18 holes of a PGA level course, but then to see these guys hitting their shots and how good they are. And I was just cracking up. My parents, I was just talking to them on the phone earlier, and they were like asking about the tournament. And I was just saying they're like, oh, any problems with balls going, hitting anybody or close calls? And I'm like, it is kind of funny. Like a couple of times, we're standing, the tee box is maybe, 70 yards back, but we're, in a direct line, like maybe just out to the left a little bit. And it's like, I was thinking if we were golfing and standing in that place, we literally could get killed, but it's like, they're so good. They're not going to do that. So it is kind of funny how that works. And I put as many stories as I could get up on my Instagram stories. So you'll see JT and Scheffler walking the fairway, Ricky Fowler on the putting green, and then the reception on the 18th green for Keegan Bradley. As I mentioned to you, Tony, there were the Keegan Bradley chants. And
Good for him, dude.
And what they did, which was so cool, everybody huddled around 18, obviously, for the final group, and they announced the golfers approaching the green and say where they're from. And when they said his name, it means such a thunderous ovation. Keegan Bradley, he had said, other than major championships, this was the tournament that he wanted to win the most. And I think a big part of that being he is from Vermont. So it's like kind of like the closest tournament to his hometown. So he was just so pumped up. The fans were behind him. And what a performance that he put on this weekend. Really didn't make any mistake. I think he had a stretch of, I want to say 66 holes where he did not make a bogey, just to show
that's kind of
how
ridiculous.
Strong he had played. Opened up with that 62, then shot 63 in round 2, 64 in round 3, and was able to get away with a 68 yesterday, which was good for a 3-shot win. Before bogeying 3 out of the last 5 holes.
Wow.
He actually was in position to break the aggregate record at this course of 20. He had 26 under par, record's 25. He ends up settling for 23, ends up settling for 257. So not too bad from Keegan Bradley. And just what a performance. And for a guy, who I think hadn't won in about 6 to 7 years before winning this fall at the Zozo, to win this tournament, to play the way he did all week. You really think this could propel somebody for like Keegan Bradley, hadn't won in so long. But I believe I actually want to just take a look at this. I want to say,
you think he goes on a run?
I mean, he's not going to, dominate the golf world by any means, but I think, he could win more than what we expected. I'll give you the breakdown of this in terms of how many career wins. And I think it's 6, I want to say, but I'm going to double check this. So
he's like 34 years old, right? Has he been on the tour since he's young? Or?
He's 37 years old.
Oh, wow.
2011 was his rookie year. And before, okay, so this is what it is. He had won the Byron Nelson in 2011, as well as the PGA Championship that year. And then he won the Bridgestone Invitational 2012, and then went 6 years without a PGA Tour win before winning the 2018 BMW Championship. And then, like I mentioned, in October, he won the Zozo. And then yesterday, winning the Traveler. So 6 career wins for Keegan Bradley. And a nice, juicy $3.6 million prize. That's not going to hurt. So you feel good because,
dude.
I mean, you win a major in 2011, and then, the following year, I mean, you really, from that point going forward, I mean, really, top 10s even, you think about going back at this point, 12 years, he's had 3 top 10s in 12 years at majors. So, hasn't really been in the conversation.
Speaking of a tight one,
that much. So it's nice to see him. I mean, we did see a glimmer last year at the US Open. He did finish 7th, but that was his first top 10 in a major since 2014. So needless to say, Keegan playing well, hitting every shot, that he needed to hit, and being consistent with his putting. And he had a really cool putt that I was on the green for that went around the hole before dropping in. So all of the fans were pumped up for that. And what a beautiful course there in Cromwell. And then there, between, I think there's a stretch, it's 15, 16, and 17, all surrounded by a big reservoir in the middle. And the 17th hole, your approach shot onto the green, which approach shot for them, 180 yards, no problem. But you have to hit over the pond. So that was just a really cool sight line, seeing those balls seemingly just drop out of the sky.
That's so cool.
And what good condition that the course is in. And it was kind of interesting too, because you think you go on a public course and there's guys, clogging up the course, taking forever. So you'd think like pros are very quick players, but it's actually for some of them anyway. I know Brooks is like a very quick player, but it's like the exact opposite. Like Keegan does this thing. I'm not kidding. I almost think it's like every shot, not just putting, but he he literally goes like this. Like
actually like that with his
yes,
hands.
yes. It's just so funny
Wow.
because I'm a quick player, but I whatever. I'm giving him a break. I did think it was taking a
Right.
little bit, but like Stacks is the same way, and he was just like getting tight basically. I'm like,
Really?
they really do take a while, but I guess concentration's part of it, and it's hard to argue with a winning formula. I just didn't realize, until being there, that they do, it is like 3 practice swings. They are like sizing everything
Wow.
up, but it just shows the work, the dedication that they put into this.
And
thing.
it makes sense. I mean, they actually have the ability to take their time too. It's not like they're going to yell at them. So why not?
Unless it's Brooks Koepka or Bryson DeChambeau.
Has that ever happened before?
Brooks had a beef with Patrick Cantlay, Tony, literally.
Just for taking too long?
Yeah, because it was just like because I get it though. Like, sometimes you feel like you're having a bad round, but it's like, geez, I mean, every hole I'm waiting to hit, it's taking me out of my rhythm. So I could see why that is. So I thought that was just interesting to see. But just so cool, such an experience, and I highly recommend anybody who hasn't went out to the Travelers to do so. It was such a great day, and even the fact too that it was so hot, Tony. Like if you weren't in a spot where there was shade, where there was cloud cover, where there dark cloud cover, it was. I mean, you were on fire. Wow. It was so hot yesterday. But it was so cool. You did all the walking. It's so hot, but you were able to get through it just because it was so cool to be there and to see these legends close up. So I really, really thoroughly, enjoyed that.
That's awesome. Drinking beers?
Kept it light. I think maybe 3.
Okay, that's light.
Yeah.
Interaction with the players? Did you yell? Did you like scream anyone's name or anything?
Let's go, Ricky!
Yeah?
I feel like I had the most Ricky calls.
Did you get like a nice nod from anyone? Like,
no, but everybody's getting riled for it. Like I just was more of like a let's go. Like I'm not trying to go overboard. Oh, and one thing, and I have a picture, not a good one, but and I just didn't want to bother him. I definitely could have taken a picture with him, and I know you're gonna say you should have. But I saw Chris Berman was standing right in front of me.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, because I guess he does the trophy ceremony every day. We left every year. We left before he did it, but he was like right in front of me. And it's so funny. Like it looked like him. We weren't sure. And then he does like the voice like that. And it's like, okay, that's Chris Berman. And then I was hysterically cracking up because sometimes, I don't know, Stacks just says stuff without thinking about it or whatever. And he literally goes to me, and because it was me and his dad there, and he literally goes, boy, yeah, he looks like he lost a lot of weight. And then his dad, I started laughing. And then his dad goes, well, geez, I didn't see anything.
God, dude.
No, but I mean, obviously at this point, I mean, what's he in his 70s? I mean, but it just, that was just so funny. But it was just the exact voice. And it looked like, I couldn't tell. And I wasn't trying to like be right on top of him there. But it did look like that he was just like talking to some random people in the crowd, like and just really into the golf tournament. He lives nearby somewhere in Hartford. So
that's dope.
It was cool to see him there. It definitely was cool to see him there.
That's cool, dude.
So yeah, just giving you some other context. You had 2 guys tied for second. Zach Blair, a lesser known name, but he shot 65, 65, 68, 62. For a -20. And then PGA Tour veteran Brian Harman, the lefty, also was 20 under. So they tied for second place. Harman going 66, 66, 64, 64. Who else but Scotty Scheffler, yet another top 5. I believe it's his 17th straight top 12. He went 63, 70, 63, 65 for 19 under. Patrick Cantlay missed like a 4 or 5 footer. Instead of being tied for second, ends up tying for fourth. So that cost him some dough. He went 65, 68, 61, 67. 2019 Travelers champion Ches Reavie was actually in the final pairing, but shot 1 over 71 yesterday. So he had to settle for tied for fourth. 64, 63, 63, 71. Rory McIlroy had a strong week, finishing tied for seventh. 6 under yesterday, overall 68, 64, 66, 64. In his post-game press conference, he alluded to the fact that he didn't like this style of golf, and he thinks that it's like basically saying that it's too easy, the course is too short, and that's not the way he likes golf to be played. And I don't know. Well, like, what do you? I don't know how to feel about that. Like, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think that's kind of stupid, right?
Well, because I just feel like it's like whether a course is tough or
Right.
whether it's easy, the people who play the best are going to win. So if to have a little of both, like, what's the big deal?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we talked a little bit about it too when we previewed the tournament because we were expecting such high scoreage or low scoreage, you know.
Right.
But again, it's just like, yeah, so then like it's still a level playing field in terms of everyone is going to be 20, 15 to 20 under, and
Right.
it's still going to be a competition. So what's the problem?
The thing that I just kind of thought off the bat with this was the fact that he's looking at it like, well, I shot in the mid 60s, 3 out of the 4 rounds. Worst round was 68, and I finished 5 shots back. But it's like, well, I mean, the other guys were able to play better.
Yeah.
You should have been able to. So I think a little sour grapes.
Definitely.
Kind of like Koepka complaining about the U.S. Open venue.
Mhm.
Denny McCarthy also tied Rory at 18 under. He had a great week, 60, 65, 70, 67. Minwoo Lee, Corey Connors, Alex Smalley, and JT all finished tied for 9th. So a much needed top 10 for JT. He went 70, 64, 62, 67 for 17 under. And he went from outside of the top 70, which is to be eligible for the first FedEx Cup playoff event, to inside that number. I think he's 1 or 2 spots in, like 68 or 69. So you would think this would be a big confidence booster for JT. And this tournament could have not been scheduled at a better time for him. You know, he's coming off the worst stretch of his career, not breaking 80 in his final round down before getting cut at the U.S. Open. So I think this can definitely propel JT because as a 2-time major champion, he's shown he can be the best golfer in the world when he's locked in, dialed in.
Yeah, I know you're pretty high on him. So
I don't know. I just I feel like it's like you know how you kind of like people based on how they play and how they conduct themselves. And he just doesn't seem like an a-hole. Like, I guess that's what I would say. He seems like he's a down-to-earth guy, right? I mean, I don't know.
I agree.
JT guy, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And then Ricky Fowler had a big fan following out there.
Ricky.
A little bit of a disappointing 69 yesterday for 1 under, but tied for 13th. So that forward trajectory with Ricky continues. And like I said, I mean, he had some of the biggest fan support out there. That's for sure. I forgot to ask you, were you able to catch any of this or?
No, not really.
You're kind of tight that you didn't.
Yeah, dude, I was just too busy this weekend.
Did you go highlights, Twitter?
Yeah. So, obviously on my Twitter feed, I'll catch some stuff. But I mean,
oh no, God.
No, what you say?
I was just gonna ask, did you see the picture on my story of like the water to the right of the green?
Oh yes.
Isn't
that
dude ridiculous?
It really is. Like you were saying again, like when we previewed the tournament, you were saying it's almost like you don't even feel like you're in Connecticut.
Right.
It's just crazy. You wouldn't think just looking at pictures.
And the thing is, somebody actually said that was standing next to me.
Yeah.
They're like, this doesn't feel like Crown Bowl because you could see maybe it was 15, but you could see the Connecticut River in the distance. So that was sick. Like pretty cool, elevated up, river down below. So that was awesome.
What's it take to play there, Brian?
I mean, it takes knowing somebody who's a member.
Yeah.
So I would love to do it though. So I'm sure eventually, a sponsorship, something, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And then just wrapping this up really, Victor Hovland, your pick, finished tied 29th. 12 under, 67, 65, 70, 66. Not too shabby. Last week's, the previous week's winner, Wyndham Clark, 12 under, 68, 67, 67, 66. So not a bad finish for him as well. John Rahm missing the cut.
That's tough.
At 2 under. So that was a surprise there. First missed cut of the year for John Rahm.
I mean, you kind of called it, I guess.
After the day one struggles, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened, you think?
Um, he hasn't been hot in a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
He like peaked, it seems like at the beginning of the year, and
Yeah.
it's just a matter of getting it back. And like you think about the reverse of that, Rory McIlroy, mentioned, he had a top 5 finish here. This is his 4th straight top 10. So we talked about him, the bad start to the season, missing the
Yeah.
Masters, missing the Players Cuts. So now it seems like he's on a roll. So I think, just like just like a baseball season, just like anything, there's going to be peaks and values. And obviously you want to hit those at the right time when a big tournament's coming up. And, obviously this wasn't a major championship, but for Keegan Bradley, a guy that had only won, twice in the past 5 years, to win this one with that purse, that's pretty good timing. I would say so myself.
I know. I wish I picked him. I forget what tournament I picked him for, but
I do remember
wasn't the right
it was
one.
probably like a lesser tournament because
Yeah.
he would, most likely be the favorite. So we won't have a full field starting on Thursday, but we will have some of the best in the world still teeing it up at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. So that's
Nice.
going to get underway. Detroit Golf Club, Detroit,
Really?
Michigan, and that starts June 29th. This is actually like a newer tournament. I want to say 2019, potentially. I could even just double check this, but it hasn't been around that long. There hadn't been a PGA Tour event in
Right.
Detroit in forever or at all. I'm gonna just look at the history.
Do you know
of
if the
this.
course is new?
No, it's actually like one of the older courses.
Really?
Wow,
in Detroit, huh?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to see.
Historical city.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to go there right now, but
Right now, Brian.
It was okay. So 2019 was the first year. And this is one that is similar to, people score well. Last year, actually, Tony Finau broke the scoring record, 26 under par, shooting a
cow.
262. This one, though, a par 72. This past week was par 70. And it's 73-70 in terms of the yardage here. Your past champions, Finau last year, Cam Davis 2021, Bryson DeChambeau 2020, Nate Lashley in 2019, and the least under par a winner was Cam Davis in 2021 at 18 under par. So needless to say, some high scoring, a reduced purse this week, but the winner still gets a not too shabby $1.584 million.
How much?
1.584 million. That's terrible.
That's pretty nice, dude.
Yeah, of course it's nice, Tony. So we'll take a look at that on Wednesday. But definitely, like I said, great time at the Travelers. Highly recommend it to anybody who hasn't gone yet. And looking forward to talking Rocket Mortgage Classic on Wednesday. But for now, let's go to the world of Major League Baseball.
What a play! Drop it, Yep. And Alonso cracks one of the Mets win the ball game. Out of sight.
And it works at 100 miles an hour. 14 strikeout.
Drove deep to left field. There it goes. See ya.
All right. So an interesting weekend in the Bronx. Got off to a bad start, unfortunately, on Friday night, and we were watching this game in between the pong, Tony.
Yeah,
and it was a close one. Actually went to extra innings, but unfortunately, the Yankees falling on Friday 4-2. And like I mentioned, a final of 10. In this one, you had a pitching matchup of Clark Schmidt and Dane Dunning. And I think going into this one, we knew Dunning was on solid footing this year. Clark, well, the numbers weren't pretty of recent. They've been very strong. So you expected a good effort out of him. And that's what you got. He gave you 5 1/3, 6 hits, 1 unearned run, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. ERA down to 4.32. At one point, I believe it was approaching 7. Bless you, Renee. Dane Dunning, 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. ERA sitting at 2.76. The scoring in this one, Billy McKinney had an RBI ground out single to score a run in the bottom of the second. So that made it 1-0. The only run, I mentioned it was unearned, given up by Clark Schmidt, was in the fourth on a Tavares single, due to a fielding error by IKF. Duran was able to score, so that tied the game at 1. Mitch Garver, in the 8th inning, had a single off of Clay Holmes, to bring in a run to give Texas a 2-1 lead. But we're all watching that rally in the 8th inning. Seemed like a missed opportunity for the Yankees. It seemed like they should have been able to put more runs together than the one run, that they did. But just to kind of give you an idea of how it worked, you had IKF lead off with a single, and then you had Billy McKinney have a single as well. So you had first and second, nobody out. And you send up as well to Cabrera. The Rangers counter, with a lefty to turn them around, and then they go to Higashioka. So they waste Cabrera to get Higashioka to go righty lefty. And he ends up hitting a sac fly. But then unfortunately, with a runner on second, seemingly a single, would give you the lead. You had Volpe strikeout looking and Bader line out to center. So 2-2 onto the 9th. Tommy Kahnle, I mentioned it as he came into the game, has been lights out, Tony, since rejoining the Yankees from that injury. He gives up a grounds out Tavares to short, pops up Simeon to second, does give up a double to Corey Seager, but then he strikes out low to end the inning. So getting the job done once again. The Yankees, nothing off Barlow in the bottom of the 9th. A Torres ground out, a Stanton ground out. Rizzo singles to right, but then LeMahieu pops up to second. So on to extra innings. And quite literally, Tony, we were watching it. Or actually, no. I had to go to my car to get the charger, and I'm watching on my phone. And first pitch to Adolis Garcia, a 2-run homer. That made it 4-2 Texas. Michael King, I think it was like the 6th of 7 appearances, giving up a run. Obviously, a big 2 runs there with the ghost runner, and he did strike out 2 of the next 3 batters, but it didn't matter. Damage done. Smith comes in to close it out for Texas and retires the Yankees in order. And one of the most head-scratching, Tony, moves of the weekend, after IKF lines out, Billy McKinney has been the Yankees' hottest hitter for weeks. And Aaron Boone decides to go with Josh Donaldson to pinch hit. He strikes out swinging and did not get an at-bat the rest of the series. So
how do you feel about that?
Great, but there's mixed reports. Some people think he's going to get DFA'd. Boone saying he's going to play a lot.
Yeah, I did see what he said, that he believes in the stuff he has. He just needs to get more time.
Hopefully Cashman down his throat making him say that, because I would highly doubt.
What the hell, dude?
Yeah, complete dysfunction. And Higgy popped out to end the game. So Yankees lost that first one 4-2. And then Saturday, so we mentioned this unclear situation with Donaldson. And speaking of unclear, Aaron Judge out of nowhere reveals that he actually tore a ligament in his toe. So they had said a sprain all along. So the deception continues for Boone, for the Yankee front office. So that kind of gave us all a little bit of an anxiety attack, and almost made you feel like, and we knew the players were feeling it because of him being out, but maybe the fact that they knew and we didn't, that this was going to be for a long time, so that made them extra pressure. That's why they haven't been hitting. But regardless, you just hate that you can't trust your organization, to tell you the truth.
It's kind of beat, dude.
So we've went from hopefully Judge can return at the All-Star break, where it seems like, while that's still a somewhat remote possibility, it seems more likely now. We're hoping for August. Boone even saying he can't rule out the possibility that he doesn't play the rest of the season, and obviously that would be a complete nightmare. So you just, it's a new thing every day, and I think the common theme is, we can't trust the Yankees especially when it comes to injuries. It's always a lie. It's always deception. So we had to deal with that going into Saturday's day game. Fortunately, that was a good one for the Yankees, as they gutted out a 1-0 victory and got a much needed ace performance out of Luis Severino. Quite arguably his best performance of the season. 6 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, picking up his first victory of the year. And as the bullpen has for most of this season, having that lowest ERA in the majors, I believe it's 2.85. You had another scoreless inning out of Canely. Peralta got you a big out. Holmes got you 2 big outs. And then Marinaccio worked around a hit and a walk for his second save of the year. Not much to speak of on the offensive side of day that you only had 4 hits, but Billy McKinney, ever since I said, can we do without Billy McKinney, Tony, it seems like he's hitting a home run every night.
Kind of funny.
So I am happy, unlike Brian Cashman, who will not admit anything, to say that I was completely wrong about that. We need Billy McKinney in the lineup at this present moment. So big that he delivered. And then other than that, I mean, Rizzo, Bader, and Stanton all had singles. And you couldn't get anything else done against John Gray in this bullpen. It didn't matter. You got a little nervous with Marinaccio in the 9th there, letting 2 on, but he was able to rebound. And he's done a mostly solid job for you this year. ERA at 3.21, little hiccup earlier in the year. And I even tweeted this after the game. It was a nice job by Severino in the bullpen. Pathetic offensive performance, but sometimes you're gonna have to win these games. And Tony, that where the Yankees are up to this point,
right,
most of the credit goes to that bullpen.
Oh yeah,
and I've talked about it so many times. It doesn't matter who's coming in the game. They're going to give you a representative performance. And even their worst relievers, Nick Ramirez, whose ERA, I believe, is under 2, and we're saying he's one of their worst relievers. He probably would be the closer for the Mets, the way he's pitched this year.
Yeah.
And then Albert Abreu, same thing. I mean, I know. Come on, I've been a little light on you. It's good to loosen you up.
Could have said any other team. Ton of teams out there, Brian.
And then Abreu, I know his numbers have been up and down, but you see him throwing smoke all the time. So just the depth of the bullpen, the fact that Canely's back, the fact that eventually, you're going to get Loaizaga back, sometime in August. This bullpen is great. It's nice that everybody's interchangeable. You need Marinaccio to get you a save. You need Tommy Canely to get you a save. You need Michael King to get you a save. And you can get it done. Now, what did you make of this win? 1-0, like the bare minimum offensively. But do you think, do you think it's helpful for the team, the fact that you can play a tight game and be mentally sharp the entire time? You don't make that one mistake that cost you the game. And while you should have done a better job at the plate, you excelled in every other area.
Yeah, I mean, I think, all the games with the season, I mean, there's going to be many different ways you win games. And it's never good to get into we always score a bunch of runs. Like that's how we win. Because now they know what it feels like to have a tight 1-run game where they've been barely hitting, but they've relied on pitching.
One of the best records in the league,
right?
Albeit.
So I feel like winning a game like that is always good to have that type of experience, especially for some of the younger guys in the team too. To know that you can have that in your back pocket, rely on good pitching, and as long as you stay clean, you can win the game. So yeah, I think I mean a win is a win in and of itself, but to win in different ways is good. To know that you can win in different ways is good. So I say that's great.
Yeah.
I saw you on Twitter not exactly impressed with the 1-0 win.
Well, I said the offense was pathetic, but you give credit. And the thing is, so we know that the bullpen's been great all year. There was no questions about that, but there was questions going into this game. Luis Severino, I mean, he had been so bad his previous few starts. To have that type of performance, 6 shutout innings against one of the best offenses in the league, that gives him a lot of confidence moving forward, and that gives you a lot of confidence moving forward because you need him, at the bare minimum to be one of your top 3 pitchers. And I think he really showed that. Not to mention, you can dream of, and he's around the corner. He had another great rehab start yesterday in Somerset. Carlos Rodon, I guess they are projecting, I think it's July 5th to make his Yankee debut.
You trust that?
I do trust it because you could tell he's the velocity is going up every start. I think he topped out at 96 yesterday. He's feeling good, and you could see it by the highlights.
Yeah.
And it's just to think what that adds to your team. And I know he was good his last start, but the fact that you don't have to start Johnny Brito. And then the fact too that when Nestor finally comes back, and he probably still has, I think somebody said over the weekend he still had a few weeks to a month left to go.
Mhm.
But at that point, you're gonna have to make a call on Herman or Schmidt, and the pecking order there has flip flopped. Herman, definitely had the early lead, but then he had, the sticky stuff situation. He's gotten absolutely, pounded his last two outings. Clark Schmidt has been on fire for seemingly the last month. So it seems like he's leapfrogged him. So it's going to be interesting to see if that trajectory continues. And then you had said all along that you liked Herman in the bullpen. I was
Yeah.
more of an advocate for Schmidt. But it's hard to argue keeping Clark Schmidt in the rotation right now. He's pitching that well. That's for sure.
Yeah. It seems like the Mets honestly have some good options here, especially with Rodon coming back. I feel like
The Mets?
sorry, the Yankees.
Oh, I
have some
thought you
good
were
options.
no.
No.
Because you know how I always say this about you. Like you have that serious face, and sometimes you're
Yeah,
kid.
yeah,
So I wasn't sure what was
No, I was just obviously thinking Mets.
the Mets.
Yeah,
I get it. We're almost there, Tony. We're almost there. Hang in with me, bud. Hang in with me. So I honestly think yesterday was probably the Yankees' most impressive win of the season, just because
Really?
you're going up against Texas.
Right.
You're without your best player. You have your best starting pitcher on the mound. But then you're heading into the bottom of the second inning, and you're already down 3-0 with an offense that scored 3 runs the previous 2 games. So you didn't feel good about that. And Cole, for whatever reason, did not have it yesterday. He threw 107 pitches. Now 74 were strikes, but he gave up 9 hits. He couldn't get through 5 innings.
Jeez.
He gave up 3 runs, a home run, a walk, and 7 strikeouts. But like I had mentioned early on, he gives up a Seager single in the first that scores Marcus Semien. In the second, he gives up a home run to potential all-star catcher Jonah Heim that made it 2-0 Rangers. And then also a Tavares double scoring Duran, who coincidentally enough came over to Texas in the Joey Gallo deal. But you ended up getting Clayton Beater, who eventually should be a very good pitcher for you. So at least you have that part of it. But that made it 3-0. And then you finally had a guy step up who really, I mean, you look at the average, even after a game that he went 1 for 3, he sits at 230. But DJ LeMahieu finally coming through, his 12th double of the year there in the second inning. That scored Stanton and Jake Bauers. So put the Yankees back in the game, made it 3-2. Cole, with an out to go in the 5th, was removed from the game. You got through the rest of the game with Cordero for an inning. Nick Ramirez, who I talked about, his ERA after a scoreless 1 in the 3rd, a perfect 1 in the 3rd, actually, 1.56. And that's a guy that's like barely on the roster. Shows you how well he's pitched. Marinaccio gave you a clean 8th, and then Michael King did get you his 5th save of the season. Worked around a hit to strike out 2 to get that save. But the comeback in the 8th inning was something we just have not seen a lot of lately, where you put together a couple hits and you don't just go for the strikeout, but you do the smart things. And that's exactly what the Yankees did in the bottom of the 8th. You had King, who had pitched on Friday, in for Texas. Anthony Volpe, one of his biggest hits of the season, a double down the line to left. And then you had Jose Trevino hit a ground ball to short and beat it out. Difficulty going in the hole there. Glaber flies out. But then Harrison Bader, one of his biggest hits of the season, a double to left in the gap, scoring as Waldo Cabrera, who pinch ran for Trevino, and Anthony Volpe. So that gave the Yankees a 4-3 lead. You had Rizzo intentionally walk to set up the double play with Stanton, but he actually comes through a rocket single to left, and that scored Harrison Bader. So that made it 5-3 Yankees. Bowers rips one, but unfortunately right to the shortstop. Rizzo out at second, doubled off. So you're on to the 9th inning. You got Higgy coming in to catch, Cabrera in at right, And then King strikes out Marcus Simeon. He gets Seager to fly out. He gives up a single to Lowe, but then he strikes out Garcia with a changeup swinging on a 3-2 pitch to get the 5-3 win, to get the series win, and to get back-to-back series wins. So it's funny, before the Seattle and the Texas series had started and they were coming off that sweep at the hands of the Red Sox, I was saying, just get me 4-2.
Right.
It didn't seem like they would get it at certain times, but they were able to do it. After that tough loss on Friday, they rebound with huge wins Saturday and Sunday to go to 43-35 on the year, including a 25-19 mark at home. And nice to see, without the home run ball in this game, them getting clutch hits and several different guys playing big roles that hadn't been hitting. Stanton, and obviously he has a lot of work to do. He even said that post game. He said that single doesn't get him off the hook. But LeMahieu's double, I mean, that's what started everything in the second inning. And I think that was a big confidence booster for DJ LeMahieu.
Yeah, I mean, you're able to say that, especially for someone like DJ LeMahieu, who, I mean, needless to say, has been pretty lackluster, but
To say the least.
yeah. But I think in terms of this win, I mean, it's another, like, I guess kind of, I wouldn't say gutsy, but definitely a grinded out win, where you're kind of winning now in a different way. And it's like, in terms of Garrett Cole, I mean, you look at his final line, obviously nothing from what you expect from him. He did not give you any length, 4 2/3 and 9 hits. But still, at the end of the day, he only gave up 3 earned runs, which, didn't put the Yankees out of the game. And then, of course, I think having your bullpen come in, that, you talked about them being so dominant. You used 4 bullpen guys. They gave up no runs. Collectively only gave up 1 walk and 3 hits. And I think at that point, it just, again, early on in the game, so we're in the 5th inning here. I think it, took a couple innings maybe for the Yankees to realize, like, hey, like, we're going to have our support from our bullpen if we kind of, like, settle down, stay calm at the plate. Eventually a hit is going to come. We're only down by 1 run anyway, and that came in the 8th. They were able to, tie it up and obviously take the lead. And then again, confidence in your bullpen, you hold the lead, you're able to kind of close out the game. I'd say another great way where the Yankees just found a way to win here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was so big because he had struggled. I think I told you, 6 or 7 appearances, King had given up a run, but to get that save in that situation, I thought was huge. And I honestly, to be dead honest, just because he really, I mean, he looked like the GIF Michael King out there in his last few outings. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he's coming in to close this game. Like, I did not like that at all whatsoever. But I know it's like when Clay Holmes was struggling earlier in the year, and believe me, Aaron Boone doesn't get much right, but he said at that time they need Clay Holmes. He's one of their best options. He's continued to get looks. Obviously, it's worked out. We know the run that he's been on since then, and it's the same thing with Michael King. This stuff is there, and we've seen it all the time. I mean, no matter what type of reliever you are, unless you're Mariano Rivera, you're going to have a tough stretch of the year where you can't get anybody out. That's just human nature.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's going to be there. So,
and then you just, like I said, the fact that Stanton and LeMahieu contributed because they've literally done nothing. And I think, this whole time, we've talked about, Judge is out, but it's like, I think it's almost been underlooked, Tony, or overlooked, whatever you want to say, the fact of how bad they had actually been. Because you think about it, if they had just been league average the past month, like, we wouldn't be talking about this offensive lull. It's literally because, like, you want to talk about nothing. They have literally done nothing. And, these couple big hits that they had, Rizzo hasn't hit a home run in a month. I mean, I really think this can propel them. He had hits, I think, in every game over the weekend. So I think this can be a starting point. And we talked about this earlier in the year when they played him. I think once again, the Yankees, off today, starting a 3-game set in Oakland tomorrow. That's a big series because it doesn't matter. Oakland's terrible. They're 1-9 in their last 10, whatever you want to say. They lost 12-1 to the Blue Jays yesterday. If you could just sweep them and then get Rizzo and Stanton and LeMahieu going, and they all have huge series, huge.
And then don't you have like Chicago after Oakland or something?
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
You know, another team that obviously near the bottom of the standings.
Yeah, dude.
So, I mean, it's all right there. You're still in that second wild card spot. I know you're 5 games behind the Orioles, but you know, you're ahead of the Blue Jays, you're ahead of the Astros, you're ahead of the Angels, you know, all who are gunning for you. And really, you know, Boston, I mean, they're 3.5 games back as well. So you need to keep winning. You just took 2 series at home, and you have a very good opportunity in Oakland to take a 3rd straight series and go for a sweep and go for 6-0 against them.
Yeah.
And I know historically, I even mentioned it, you know, whether it's just not used to playing at the park, all the foul territory, the deep fences, the fact that they have a lot of guys who swing, you know, and hit a lot of fly balls as to why they haven't had success in Oakland. I feel really good about their chances of getting a sweep there. And if you sweep that game right now, you're 8 over 500. That get you back to 11 over 500 and kind of get you back to that point where you were before June started, before Aaron Judge got hurt,
Right.
Before everything really went awry quick. So for all that they've had to transpire, the fact that they're in the middle of the playoff race without their best player, without the league MVP, I mean, I think it's tough to complain about it when you look at it from that aspect.
Yeah, I think so. If you really, again, like you were saying, I mean, it's just your schedule's in your favor for sure. You got to buckle down, take it one game at a time, but know, obviously, that you're still in this, but you need to perform. You need to win these games against these lackluster teams coming up. And then I think there's the Orioles, I think, sprinkled in soon, right? At some point.
So I don't know if that's right. That might be right after the St. Louis series.
Yeah.
I'm going to just take and I think that's at home, and it might even be a Monday through Thursday 4-game set.
It sounds like you know exactly what you're talking about, Brian.
Well, you know, I look at the schedule from time to time.
It might be after the Carl.
Yeah,
Might be.
Yeah. So 3 in Oakland, 3 this coming weekend against St. Louis, and then 4 at home against Baltimore, 3 at home against Chicago. So, you know, obviously Baltimore's a tough one, but all the other series, you know, clearly that you're the better baseball team.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, this is a stretch. You know, you got 3, you got 6, and then 10. So 13 games. I mean, you should go 9-4.
Yeah.
And if you could do that, I think you're going to be feeling pretty good, especially the fact too, 9-4. But if you sweep Oakland, you know, then you only need to go 6-4 in the other games. And I think that is all very, very doable. So I feel good right now. I'm excited to get Rodon back, and that start would actually come in the middle of this Baltimore series. I guess they were throwing out the 5th. I know right now they have Severino penciled in there, but I think, you know, that's just because it's not definitive just yet. But I really am excited to see what Rodon can do, because he was electric last year in San Francisco.
Yeah, he was really good, dude. Do you think he's gonna come on like red hot?
I do.
Really?
I do. I think he's, you know, he had a spring training before he got injured. He's been rehabbing a while. I think he's going to make 1 more rehab start. So there'll be 3 rehab starts. I think you could tell too in the videos that I saw, the highlights from Somerset, he was pumped up. So
that's good, dude.
Excited about that.
Yeah.
It's nice to finally have a positive weekend recap. And the one thing that I'll finish up here before we go to the Mets is I just like the way that they rallied in the 8th inning, because recently, weeks of being in that similar situation, 1 run to tie, 1 run to win, and it just never happened. So for it to finally happen against one of the team with one of the best records in baseball, I think it's a job well done. Looking forward to see if they can pull off the sweep in Oakland. But now let's talk about the New York Metropolitans.
Yeah, so the Mets did not have a good weekend. It's not going to be a great weekend recap. And I really don't want to do it, but we're going to do it anyway, dude.
Wow.
So let's start with Friday here. Yukadai Senga, Taiwan Walker here. Taiwan Walker obviously being on the Phillies here. But let's take you through the play-by-play here in terms of the scoring. You know, nothing really happened in the first inning, or at least for the Mets anyway. You know, Walker comes out. Apparently, And again, like I remember seeing him getting popped against the Mets for the last time he played against the Mets, which was I don't know, maybe about a month ago. But they were saying how Walker coming into this game was one of their better starters and everything like that. So it seems like he was having a good year. Started out the first inning well. Nimmo lines out, Marte grounds out, strikes out Lindor. It does seem like too, maybe Walker making a little adjustment in his play where he doesn't throw as many fastballs anymore. He does seem like to rely on a lot of off speed, like some cutters and stuff like that. But bottom of the first here, the Phillies get on the board early. For Kadai Senga here, a little bit of unlucky kind of deal where Schwarber hits this ball basically to shallow center. And Nimmo is there. He's running onto it, completely flubs it, misses the ball. Schwarber safe at first. So immediately, the Mets starting out with a defensive error, not the kind of tone you want to set. Right after that, Senga walks Trey Turner. Luckily, strikes out Castellanos, but Harper with an RBI single. Schwarber scores on that. Then Real Muto gets walked. And then Stott hits a sac fly RBI. Bohm lines out to end the inning there, but off rip, Mets are down 2-0. Senga has already given up 2 walks. And we talked about him trying to work his number of walks down to a minimum here. But obviously, like I was saying, not the start you want. Top of the third here now. Some life here as Nimmo with a solo shot, seemingly making up for his defensive error in the first inning. He cranks one. It was a splitter over the kind of the middle of the plate, a little bit more towards the outside. But cranks it 405 feet to about right center field. A very nice home run for him. Splitting the deficit here to 1 as they're just down 2-1 now. Moving on. I think it was the bottom of the 6th too before I get to the next story. Okay, yeah. So bottom of the 6th here. Senga's still pitching. Strikes out Real Muto to start the inning. Gives up a single to Stott, who then steals second. And I'll get into it more towards the end of this recap, but Alvarez was getting stolen on left and right. His throws looked horrendous this weekend.
And it seemed like he had, learned some, improved upon that area going into this weekend, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, it was tough to steal on him. And now, again, a lot of pitchers got good jumps. Trey Turner, obviously, we know his speed, hard man to throw out from stealing bags. Even Stott, too. It's definitely speedy. The Phillies do actually have great base runners. But still, it's not even that Alvarez wasn't making the timely throws. They were off their marks, and people were advancing bases because of that too. So, I mean, Alvarez got to learn. I mean, it's about being more accurate. The ball's got to be there. It's better to be there and be caught than not on time than to try to get there on time and completely miss your target. But anyway, so here comes in they brought in Walker. Marsh singles to left. I believe this is the play where this was they call it a single to left. It was a fly out to shallow left, and Lindor was underneath it. Tommy Pham, again, had jogged onto it to be there, but he's standing there. And again, you can't really tell obviously while you're watching it, but it seems like Lindor had called off Pham and he's getting the ball. And then the last second, Lindor just backs off and the ball drops.
What are you doing?
It's just what are you doing, dude?
Right.
Again, complete dismantle of your defense. Another error, just a complete mental lapse. In terms of just having a focus on defense and making a routine play. And because of that, Stott scores, Bohm gets to second. After that, Sosa lines out, but Schwarber gets walked. At this point, Walker's in the game, but they bring him now. And Trey Turner, who sucks, he's sucked this entire season. RBI single, scores Bohm and Marsh, makes it 5-1 now. After that, Castellanos grounds out. And then the rest of the game is just just no offense going on at all for the Mets. You look at the rest of the box score here. They were 0 for 6 runners in scoring position. Nimmo, other than he had that home run, but it was just a solo shot. Marte 0 for 4, Vogelback 0 for 4, Pham 0 for 3, McNeil 0 for 3, Alvarez 0 for 3. I mean, everyone was hitless. You only had 3 hits collectively as a team. Struck out 10 times. You got to figure out a way to get to Walker. I mean, geez, dude. He's not that good. And then even their bullpen. I mean, obviously, Kimbrel came in. Kimbrel, excuse me, came in. He was good. Alvarado, their Philly setup guy, he's a good bullpen guy. Throws 100. But I mean, you would expect Walker to not have a line like 6 innings, get up only 3 hits, 1 earned run, and 1 walk.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was probably like his best outing of the year.
Yeah, must have been definitely like his best outing, probably like ever, in considering that the Mets are involved in a game where he's playing. And it just sucks because Senga's line, of course, struggling with the walks, gave up 3 of them, 2 earned runs, 5 hits, only 5 and a third. So starting off your weekend with not only a loss, but using a lot of your bullpen guys. You're saying it didn't give you the length you wanted, and your offense looked like absolute shit. Not to mention your defense looked terrible. But let's go to Saturday, where there is actually a bright spot here in a Mets victory. They did beat the Phillies 4-2 on Friday. Let me take you through some of the play-by-play here, as it was Sanchez versus Scherzer in terms of the pitching matchup. And, the Mets doing something they didn't do often this season, which is getting on the board early in the first inning with a Marte solo shot, 423 feet. Absolutely jumps on a slider that's a little bit lower in the strike zone, but in the middle of the plate. Puts up the Mets 1-0. Scherzer comes out for the first inning, by the way, strikes out Schwarber. Turner flies out and then strikes out Real Muto, to look pretty strong in the first inning, going to his changeup immediately. His fast cutter, it was looking really nice too, not to mention his backdoor slider, which has been working recently, which is great. Again, like second inning too, Stott struck out swinging, boom, struck out swinging, Marsh fly out. Like he was on top of his game for sure. Now fast forward to top of the third here as the Mets get on the board with a Guillorme leadoff triple. He hit it to center field. Center fielder just didn't play the ball right, bounced into the corner. Guillorme absolutely hustling. Love to see that. Nimmo, right after that, nice RBI single to bring Guillorme in on a first pitch sinker. And we talked about Nimmo absolutely loving to hop on the first pitches of being aggressive, first pitch of an at bat. So that puts the Mets up 2-0 here. Fast forward down to the bottom of the fourth, where Scherzer does give up a home run to Castellanos. Four-seamer that he just completely missed his location. It was middle. Castellanos obviously take that yard, but settles down. Gets causes a foul out from Harper. Realmuto grounds out. Bohm grounds out. Again, as I mentioned too, like Scherzer's last start, it seems like he's making that adjustment to try and force ground out and flyouts too, to kind of conserve his arm a little bit. It's definitely working. Here we go, bottom of the fifth now. Marsh with a leadoff double against Scherzer, but Clemens flies out. Schwarber strikes out, and I think it was a pretty big strikeout. Yeah, four-seamer in, just absolutely jacked up Schwarber. That was nice to see. Scherzer dig deep for a fastball there. But Trey Turner again, has a great weekend against the Mets, of course. RBI single scoring. Marsh, which unfortunately ties up the game there. And then Scherzer gives up another single to Castellanos. Bryce Harper up now with runners on second and third with 2 outs. This is where Scherzer kind of flexed a little bit with his cutter. I'll tell you, Harper was definitely sitting fastball, and Scherzer just fooled him with the cutter, kind of picking off the outside corner for a strikeout to end the inning. That was huge. Another example of Scherzer kind of digging deep, striking out Harper too. We know what he can do. And then a good example of the Mets turning good defense into offense, or good pitching, I should say, into offense. Top of the sixth here. Nimmo again, leadoff single, excuse me. They kind of pull Sanchez, bring in Marte to pitch for Philly. Marte against Marte. Marte gets a single, which brings Nimmo to second. After that, Lindor string along some nice hits, and there's a single to the right. So now we have bases juiced. Alonso with a ground to a fielder's choice. Lindor out at second, but Nimmo scores, and then Alonso safe at first. He kind of dug that one out too. Love to see that. Tommy Pham with an RBI single, scoring Marte and Alonso, making it now 4-2. And then Alvarez going to double play, ends the inning. But you scored 2. Obviously, that's your final score right there. Bottom of the 6th, Scherzer comes out again. 3 up, 3 down in the bottom of the 6th. Strikes out Realmuto. Stott singles, but boom, grounds out to double play. This is actually where the Mets kind of saw some good defense here in the double plays in the 6th, 7th, and I think 9th inning, actually, to close out this game, where the Phillies were getting runners on, seemingly had an opportunity to try and get runners in scoring position. But between Lindor, McNeil, and Alonso, honestly, they were turning double plays at the end of this game. Looked flawless. It looked seamless. It looked like they didn't even need to try. And it was honestly pretty impressive to see that type of defense around your infield, which is something you should be used to all the time. But the Mets here, they bring in Robertson for an inning and 2/3, get up just 1 hit, closes out the game. I'm actually not even sure how many saves he's gonna have. Let's see.
11.
Saves.
It says it.
12? 11.
Yeah. So that seemingly puts him out for a week that you can't put him in a game.
It's actually pretty interesting. I'll get to it because we're gonna now come to Sunday, dude. And Sunday was an absolute shit show. Mets lose this game 6-7. And let's take you through some of the scoring here. Zach Wheeler versus Carlos Carrasco. It was interesting because Dave was talking about starting Verlander Sunday anyway and pushing Carrasco back to today.
Because would yesterday have been 5 days rest?
Yeah.
Okay. Or 4 days rest, technically, but
technically, yeah. Which honestly I thought probably would have been a good idea because you got Milwaukee today. We'll get to that, but to have Carrasco start against Milwaukee would kind of make a little bit more sense. Anyway, you still get Wheeler against Carrasco here, and wouldn't you know it, Carrasco gives up some runs here in the first inning. Schwarber, right at the second to start the inning off, but Trey Turner, wow, seemingly so good all of a sudden. 415-foot home run here. Four-seamer that was kind of high, but Turner takes it yard. Puts the Phillies up 1-0 early in the first here. And then going out top third where it seems like the Mets could score a little bit here. Beatty reaches on an infield single. Love that. Narvaez singles to right. Beatty to third. After that, Marte gets hit by a pitch. So bases loaded with 1 out at this point. Lindor, of course, comes up, strikes out swinging, but Alonso singles to center. Beatty Narvaez scores. Marte to third, makes it a 2-1 game. Vogelback comes up, of course, strikes out swinging. Unfortunately there, but it's a 2-1 game now instead of a 1-1 game. But Cookie Carrasco comes into the bottom of the third here. Sosa leadoff triple, walks Schwarber, and then, whoa, Trey Turner with a RBI single here, just making minced meat here of the Mets pitchers this weekend. Sosa scores there, ties up the game. After that, we're going to fast forward. Top of the fourth here. Nimmo with an RBI single with scores Beatty, makes it 3-2. Top of the fifth, Lindor comes up big, a big home run. First pitch slider of the inning, too. Takes it yard off of Wheeler. Makes it a 4-2 game, bolstering some of the score. But bottom of the fifth here, they bring in Leon. Cookie Carrasco, of course, another theme for the Mets this season, this weekend specifically. Your star not giving you the length you need. You're overusing your bullpen. You're bringing in Leon, who sucks. And here we go now. Turner gets walked. Leadoff walk by Leon. Love that, dude. His first pitch is a slider, which was a ball that was called a strike. And the next 4 pitches were balls. So no command off rip. Turner steals second. I don't even think there was a throw there. Dude, you should have seen it. I don't even know what Leon just was not checking the runner at first. Was not checking Turner. And Leon hasn't even started his pitch yet. And Trey Turner takes off. Leon has no idea what's going on. Throws his pitch. By the time Alvarez even gets it, Turner's on second. So it's like, what are you doing, dude? Just absolutely fucking throw my pencil. No head in the game for Leon here. And then after that, of course, Turner goes to steal third, throwing error by Narvaez. Absolutely misses third base. Like Beatty just had no chance to get it. Turner gets up, walks onto home plate. Scores for the Phillies there, makes it 4-3. The rest of the inning there for Leon there was no more damage, but still walked, Castellanos. So nothing seemed good there. Marte scores into an RBI ground out in the 6th inning, which makes it 5-3, bringing the lead back up to 2. 7th inning here. Sorry, top of the 7th. Alvarado's in, tries to get a sinker past Alonso for the first at bat here of the inning. Alonso takes him yard, 383 feet for his 25th home run of the season, I believe. Makes it 6-3. So now we're going into the 7th inning. Grant Hartwig comes in for the Mets, who's a 25-year-old guy. He's like 6'3", 230, a good pitcher, honestly. He's had 3 appearances so far for the Mets out of the bullpen. No runs given up. I think only 1 strikeout, and I think it's like 3 2/3 innings, but no runs given up. I think maybe 2 hits. So it kind of looks good, actually, out of the bullpen. I would be very happy if they keep bringing him out instead of like Leon or Brigham even. Right. So Hartwig's in for the 7th, ground out by Schwarber. Turner flies out. Castellanos strikes out swinging. So great inning for Hartwig. Love that. And then they bring in Walker for the Mets in the bottom of the 8th. And this is where the absolute complete implosion comes. Love it. Hartwig, again, someone who you've seen go more than 1 inning, by the way. Had a great 8th inning. Didn't throw a lot of pitches. I think maybe threw 8 or 7 pitches or something. 3 up, 3 down inning, and you bring in Walker for whatever reason. Lead off walk to Harper. Realmuto singles. Harper gets to second. Another walk by Stott. So right there, you have bases juiced, no outs. Walker gave up 2 walks. You pull Walker, bring in Brigham, and now Alec Boehm grounds out to 3rd base. I don't know if you saw this.
No.
Brett Beatty should be double play.
Yep.
I don't know what happened. Brett Beatty just had an absolute brain fart and like fielded the ball and just didn't do anything. Like hesitated.
Didn't throw it anywhere.
Didn't throw it anywhere.
Wow.
I think maybe he ended up throwing it to Lindor at second and it was low because he just like hesitated and just kind of chucked it.
Safe at second.
Yeah. So I don't know, dude. Like, obviously not a way you want to start off your inning with Walker, but you have a 3-run lead here and you make a stupid mistake like that should have been a double play turned. Instead, everybody's safe and they score. And after that, Marsh gets walked. Realmuto scores. It's 6-5 now, so a 3-run lead went down to 2. And then Brigham is still in here. Strikes out Clemens, but then hits back-to-back batters. So he hits Schwarber. That brings in Stott, which ties the game. Right after that, hits Turner, which brings in Boehm and gives the Phillies the lead. 7-6. Then Buck pulls Brigham. Natoli comes in, who's like this young reliever. No, he's not a young reliever. He's like 32 years old. I think I don't even know what fucking teams he's been on, but does not have good stats. I don't even know why he's on the Mets team, on this roster. Really no reason. But he comes in to close the inning out, and then top of the 9th, Alonso hits by a pitch, but kind of Fan McNeil. Kind of Pham strike out. McNeil flies out the center, and it was just an absolute implosion late in the game by the Mets. What kind of looked like Saturday, where they were turning double plays after a shitty defensive showing on Friday. I mean, it looked like they kind of picked up their defense a little bit. They had some energy. Sunday they were scoring too. Scored 6 runs. But an absolute implosion in the 8th by your shitty bullpen, your terrible starters, making stupid defensive errors all weekend, really, and it cost you the game on Sunday. And then on top of that, you talked about not using Robertson. Why didn't Buck use Robertson? He did not throw a lot of pitches on Saturday. You have him. I think he was actually warming up, like in the bullpen. Like, why aren't you using him? Instead, you're throwing out Brigham. Like, are you kidding me, dude? Leon sucks. Like, he should not still be on the team. Like, we knew that months ago. Like, yeah, he had a couple good stretches. He had like really one good stretch of like maybe 3 or 4 good appearances where he wasn't giving up any runs. But the guy sucks. He's been giving up runs recently. Why is he even in? He seemed to be totally lost on the mound. And then, yeah, Brigham sucks too. There's no reason why he should be kept on this roster. It's stupid, dude. It was an absolute like atrocity this weekend against the Phillies. This is a team that you had the number of for the past couple of seasons. This is a team that struggled all season. Kyle Schwarber is someone who strikes out. I think he leads the league in strikeouts. And he's getting on base like there's no problem. Trey Turner has been an absolute disappointment this entire season. He's scoring runs, stealing bags, hitting home runs, RBIs, getting on base left and right. How do you not like put these guys away so easily? You have someone like Taijuan Walker on the mound who you've seen so many times. You've hammered him. You've seen him get hammered. Who's on your team. How do you not know exactly what to do against him? Zach Wheeler is someone who's also like, obviously, I mean, the guy's a great pitcher for Philly. He sucked, obviously, we know, for the Mets, but he's still a guy who's been hittable against the Mets because we know him. He throws a good game. Yeah, the Phillies have some decent bullpen guys, but you got to figure out a way to score. And then on top of that, you find a way to score on Sunday, and you absolutely fucking shoot yourself in the foot by making stupid mistakes through the field. You got, again, like, and then again, like, ninth inning, you get Alonso on base, and the next 3 batters blow it. Like you've been scoring all game, and then where it counts the most, you can't figure out a way to get men on.
Against a guy like Craig Kimbrell, who is known for his blowups.
Yeah.
And the thing you said about Robertson, I couldn't agree more. And I was listening to Boomer and Gio this morning. They mentioned how Buck said, well, he pitched almost 2 innings the night before, but it's like, and they were going, well, it doesn't matter if he threw 17 pitches and pitched 5 innings. If it's only 13 pitches, he clearly could go again. And I think we saw this, and I forgot what year it was. But when Buck in the wild card game didn't use Zach Britton, the game went to 14 innings. He was the best reliever in baseball. Didn't use him. Everybody says the issue with Showalter is that he's planning ahead too much. And clearly an opportunity against a division rival to win this series. Robertson, especially if he was economical, Tony, I mean, he could have pitched the last 2 innings.
Yeah, probably. And he is, without a doubt, the best guy coming out of your bullpen. Like, yeah, by far. So it's like, I don't know what the decision-making is. I saw, that post-game interview with Buck that you tagged us in on Twitter too.
It is Boone, though. It is.
It's like,
what we were just talking about.
How could you sit there and say the words, what else could we have done? Like, that is a ridiculous statement. Like, what do you mean? Like, what else could you have done? You could have won the game. Yep. You could have not put in Brigham. You could have not, you could have thrown in Robertson. Brett Beatty could have maybe not fucked up. Like, that's a major mistake that cost potentially, again, it's kind of hard to say, but that kind of costed the Mets the game last night. Like a double, like, again, like there was bases loaded with nobody out. You turn double play. Like, yeah, you give up a run, but you still have a 2-run lead. You're still working with something.
Right. And then how about the fact, too, that if Roberts pitches the inning, maybe nobody gets on. It's a 1-2-3 inning, and he goes out for the 9th.
Exactly. So just way to just fucking blow it at this point. The Mets are 35-42. They're 15 games back of Atlanta. They're 9 games back from Miami, 5 games back from Philly. Nowhere near the wild card for the NL, really. And it's just really tough to look at this as they are now 12-12 in games scoring 6 runs or more. How they could ever turn this around. And it really seems like the season is over. Like, I don't care. Like, oh, they dealt Escobar, pitching prospects from LA, whatever. It really seems like you got to just chalk this one up. There's no way, dude. You can't. You just have too many issues. You have too many problems. I mean, these defensive hiccups, something that I've said that was been a bright spot for the Mets last season now isn't. I mean, you're taking steps backwards. All these steps are being taken. The only thing you could say that surprised is how much they've been scoring which was your kind of main concern coming into this issue. We were like, oh, the pitching's gonna be great, the defense is gonna be great. We just need to worry about our bats. Your bats were scoring, but you took one step ahead there, took 2 steps backwards with everything else. So, like, how do you expect to salvage the season, even by some miracle if you get a wild card spot? I mean, there's just no way. Like, how? There's no way where you could see the end of this season being anything other than an utter failure. And it's really, it's again, like, I think it's time for Cohen to start making some moves in terms of firing. Like,
and now, are you on board with firing Buck?
I mean, it seems like it, dude. Yeah, I guess so.
Right? Because it's like, you could blame other parts, players, Beatty, but the bullpen yesterday.
I mean, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing,
it's
dude?
not like you have a big lead. It's like, oh, well, we want to save guys, keep them fresh on the stretch. Like, you need to win every game you can.
And it's like, dude, you have you have Verlander. You have Verlander pitching today,
right?
Who you would expect to give you length,
right?
So you probably be like, oh, I don't really have to worry about my bullpen tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I wrong to think that? Like, if Verlander comes in and give you 7 innings, you have Ottavino who's been on a day's rest. You could probably use him,
right? Yeah. No, I think you got to fire him.
So I think you kind of have to. I mean, it just seems like nothing is good. Like, you got to get rid of Epler. You got to get rid of Buck at this point. And I mean, yeah, I know it's like every player that you have is performing well under the threshold that you probably placed for them this season. But I mean, nothing else is good. There's no real bright spot to any of these games to this entire weekend, seemingly this season. It's just, there's nothing good, dude. It just sucks. And you're coming up now. I don't know. It just, Brewers, you could sweep them, whatever. I mean, are you going to feel good about it? No. It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, dude, nothing seems good at all.
I mean, you got to go 20-10. And how's that happening?
You got to go, like, just win out the rest of the season, really.
But I don't know if you exactly said it, but you alluded to the fact of, like, selling at the deadline. And it's like, so what there? I mean, who are you looking to try to sell?
I mean, to me, I don't know. It would be interesting to see, like, what you could get for Tommy Pham, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's had actually a huge uptick in production.
Right.
He had a phenomenal throw from left field too. Where he almost threw, I think he did throw someone out at second, actually, from deep in left field, like at the wall. And that was probably the first showing I've seen of an outfielder throwing someone out on the Mets this season, honestly. Like,
yeah, it just hasn't happened.
So I think maybe you can get something for him at this point, because he even, you think about his postseason with the Padres last year. I mean, he performed really well with the Padres in the postseason last year. He was a big reason why the Mets lost, because he was just, like, batting in the 7th spot and absolutely raking. But I think in terms of young guys, I mean, you gotta look at Vientos and Mauricio to try and get some other players. Again, I talked about it last week. You brought in Alvarez, you brought up Beatty. Those are guys that I think, I guess you dealt Escobar, so Beatty's everyday third baseman now.
Right.
You got Guillorme still for your utility guy, but yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, again, like, those 2 youthful players are probably the 2 guys you want to deal. I don't know, what you can get for them, like where you can really kind of pivot to. I would be interested to see too, because you got 2 pitching prospects from the Angels. I don't know what they look like, really. I haven't done much research on that. But I say you got to bring them up, like, immediately.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why, like, I talked about that guy, Mike Vossel, why he hasn't been brought up. I don't know, dude. But yeah, Vientos and Mauricio, I would look to deal. You have to.
And are you still thinking Soto package?
I think that would be huge because he's young enough.
Padres blew it again.
He's an outfielder.
2-3 to the Nationals.
So I think
could be a future building block.
Yeah. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Like, he is your.
What is he? 24?
25, but yeah,
Yeah, 20. I mean, he's definitely another youthful player you can bring in who's just going to be totally electric in New York.
mm,
And he's an outfielder that we desperately need, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So,
I think really the best move of the franchise, whatever it takes to do that, and then I would, as bad as the player development scouting, I would fire the whole like staff and bring in new guys and make sure
yeah.
next couple of drafts. I mean, you're locked in and you're making the right decisions because clearly they've made the wrong ones.
Yeah, no, that is for sure, dude. So, yeah, it's just tough.
Yeah, yeah,
Terrible baseball being played.
absolutely.
Like fundamentally just wrong. And it sucks, dude.
Yeah, yeah. So be interesting to see just how they handle this, what moves are made, and who's on the chopping block. I mean, it seems like everything's pointing to Buck and Epler, but it's just a question of maybe when, then not if. But we'll have to keep an eye out for that. The Mets do return to the field, like you had alluded to. Ray versus Verlander tonight. At City Field, I know, based on everything you've just said, we know how you're feeling, but just specifically with this game, I mean, what are you thinking?
Um, I mean, it's tough. I'm gonna go pick the Mets again. You look at the pitching matchup; it's kind of funny. Ray and Verlander. You look at their numbers. Ray's 3-4, Verlander's 2-4. 4.88 ERA for Ray, 4.50 for Verlander. WHIP is 128 to 1.21 respectively. Raiders have 10 and 2/3 more innings pitched because of Verlander's injury, but it's funny looking at this and their numbers are exactly the same. But I don't know, man. I mean, Verlander got popped a little bit against Houston. We know about Atlanta too. Gave up 4 earned runs in both of those starts, but Milwaukee does not have batters like that. Yeah, they're 3 games above 500. Good for them. Willie's been doing well. The Mets did get swept by the Brewers earlier this season, and I'm trying to look to see who the pitchers were. I believe it was there's Scherzer because Verlander must have been still injured. So it was Verlander, Peterson, and Carrasco. Yeah, so they haven't
Peterson on the cusp of coming back. I saw.
You really?
Yeah.
Why? Deal him.
Yeah, probably needs to change the scenery. But
Yeah.
they were talking about.
He's trash, dude. Get McGill out of there too.
Yeah,
he's honestly experiment gone wrong.
Oh,
really,
yeah.
Carrasco should be probably gone too.
It just who's gonna take down? I mean, you have to like eat the whole contract.
Yeah, you probably would. I think it'd be worth it.
Probably.
If I'm Cohen, I would do that.
Yeah.
Again, just to give the fans a little something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll eat the contract. I don't care. Just fucking.
Like Cano, last year.
So I don't know. I say starting this 4-game set against Milwaukee here at home. Verlander, you can look at that guy. I enjoy Verlander's post-game conferences or interviews just because he's someone who is like accountable and who seems to be really like just wants the Mets to win. He wants to win. He's got a winning mentality. We know that. So give me Verlander looking at the Brewers for the first time this season here. I say he goes strong, like 6 2/3, 7 innings, maybe giving up just 1 earned run, no walks, 3 hits, like 10 Ks, like vintage Verlander against Milwaukee here. And then honestly, I say the Mets beat up on Ray. I think that the scoring continues. I think it's gonna be another 6-run night. And I think it's going to be from really everyone around the lineup. I think it's going to be like McNeil with RBIs, Nimmo with RBIs, like Alonso definitely hitting his 26th, possibly his 27th. I'll give him a 2-home run night for Alonso. I think Mets win this one. I'm going to say 7-1.
That would be a nice. I know,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But I don't know.
I would love to see a 7-1 victory and then Buck and Epler gone after the game. That would be crazy.
Kind of, I know it seems like I'm joking, but kind of reminiscent of the Randolph firing a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it was a West Coast trip and they did win and they still did fire him.
Oh my God. That implosion of Randolph was crazy. And I believe they blew it against the Phillies.
Yeah, I think so. think so.
They were like
That
ahead by
series-
12 games in the division,
Yeah.
and it started. I think it was against the Phillies where they blew it.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of
So
ironic.
it'll be interesting to see what Verlander and the Mets bring tonight. I'm gonna go actually with the Rangers. Obviously, coming off the disappointing, losing 2 out of 3 in the Bronx at the hands of the Yankees this weekend. I think they're gonna get right back on the right ship here. Favorable series at home against the Tigers, a team that they've beaten 2 out of the first 3 times they played them this season. The pitching matchup favors them as well. You have Matt Boyd on the hill for the Tigers, 5-5, 5.37, going up against Andrew Heaney, who's pitched pretty well for the Rangers this year, 5-4, 3.98. And I look at this, I think, even offensively, you think about the Rangers. I mean, the whole series against the Yankees. I mean, 4 in the first game, 2-on-1 swing in the 10th there. Other than that, shutout on Saturday, only 3 runs yesterday. I think they're going to be scoring, as Tony would say, early and often against the Tigers today. I think Heaney can give them 6 strong, maybe 1 earned run, 7-8 strikeouts. I think Adolis Garcia will hit his team leading 18th home run, as well as a Corey Seager 2-run shot. All amounts to the Rangers, let's say 8-3 over the Detroit Tigers tonight.
Like a good pick. I'm gonna go with Seattle tonight. They are hosting the Washington Nationals here to start the 3-game set in Seattle. Luis Castillo, I mean, what a great pitcher to start your series here. Matched up against Trevor Williams, dude. I understand, the Nationals coming off a pretty hot series against the Padres, 2-game winning streak, took 2 out of 3 against them. But this is the first time the Nats are over there in Seattle. And the Nationals, the Mariners struggled a little bit against Baltimore, dropped 2 out of 3 over the weekend. Just think bounce back at home here against a bad team. Give me Seattle 4-1.
All right. I'm gonna go with the Braves. Strider, I usually like to take him. He's 8-2 this year, 3.93. Has a tough pitching opponent in Sonny Gray, 4-1, 2.56. But we know how well Atlanta has played this year and how mediocre the Twins have been, and I believe they're still leading the AL Central, product of a very, very weak division. So I think they should cruise here at home. Correa is still hitting in the 220s. So I think this will be very easy. I think this is a double-digit strikeout game for Steven Strider. I want to say the Braves will actually get to Sonny Gray. I know he's pitched well, but I think this is a tough road matchup for him. So I want to say the Braves end up on top here, 6-2 over the Minnesota Twins.
Ooh. Trying to look at here. I think I'm going to go with the White Sox, to be honest.
Dylan Cease pitching better lately.
Pitching better as of late against LA, against Reed Detmers.
No-hitter last year.
We actually just pitched 7 innings against the Dodgers of only 2 hits and no earned runs, 8 Ks. Pitched well against Texas, too, in a loss. Oh, man, maybe I'm regretting the White Sox, huh? Just give me the Angels. I'm swapping. Reed Detmers. I mean, he's got a couple of hot starts, I feel. Give me the Det Man.
I think you're the first person to say that one.
Really?
No? That's a thing or no? You're cheesing.
No, yeah, I don't know. I don't think anyone called him the Det Man. Yeah, I think Detmers continues a good outing against a White Sox team that kind of struggles to score. You look at their let's see, batting average as a team is 235. They're only 321 runs scored this season so far, so not great. Striking out a lot too as a team. Yeah, definitely give me the Angels, and I guess give me Ohtani with his 26th of the season. He's ridiculous, dude. 25 home runs, 297 batting average, 61 RBIs. Kind of outrageous, that guy. Did you see though the Angels? They outscored the Rockies? I think
25-1.
Yeah.
I was just going to mention that actually.
And they lost this. No, well, that was one game in
They lost the series.
In the series, they outscored them like 32-8 or something, and they still lost the series, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, give me the Angels tonight. Bounce back, win. Let's go.
I'm gonna go with one of the hottest teams in baseball, the Cincinnati Reds.
Wow.
4 over 500 on the road in Baltimore. Pitching matchup, both pitchers with poor numbers. Colt Irvin, though, 1-3, 7.71. You remember him getting lit up like a Christmas tree on the A's. Same thing here in Baltimore. I know Brandon Williamson, the 25-year-old from Fairmount, Minnesota, Tony. Limited action, 5.4. But I just like the way the Reds are playing. I think it's an inspired brand of baseball. And I think because of that advantage that they have on the hill today, I think that's going to, propel them to victory here. And I want to say the Reds are going to win this one 6-4 over the Baltimore Orioles to take game 1 at Camden Yards.
Wow. Always want to go to Camden Yards.
Yeah, it's a nice place. We'll get there.
Yeah, we will, dude. What's the records at right now after Friday?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that, and I know you're gonna say, "Oh, are you sure?" Ha ha ha. But you did go 0-3. I did go 2-1.
Are you sure?
Yes, you're. Yeah, of course. I actually fell for that for a second. So yeah, you going into tonight, and I'm gonna pull back up the document I closed out just before you asked that. No, 3 games up. 3 games up. But I feel like I know every night, I guess we feel really good about our picks, but I really do feel really good about my picks tonight.
Yeah.
Honestly. How about you? I mean, other than the Mets, I'm sure you're a little wavering there, or maybe you feel good just because it's been so bad. They're due to just
I think I feel the worst about the Angels pick, honestly.
Really? Okay, because of the depth, man.
Yeah. Well, really, just more about like, are the Angels going to produce enough offense? Is what I'm really worried about. You know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I think the Rangers roll over the Tigers. I think the Braves easily will take care of the Twins. The Reds-Orioles game, I think, is a tough one. I like the story of Cincinnati and the Irvin struggle. That's why I feel there. The Mets, I think, like we were talking about, due for the bounce back. Nationals just took 2 out of 3 from the Padres, so maybe a step back against the Mariners.
Oh, definitely. Castillo dealing.
So really, I think we're on the same page here. We both agree the 2 games, the Debt Man and then the Orioles and the Reds.
You really like that, huh?
I mean, it was a good one, Tony. I have to credit where credit's due, right? So yeah, good stuff. Small slate, but I think some good matchups there tonight. What do we have? Actually, I think no, screen time tomorrow. Because you put it up early and I get confused.
So yeah, screen time tomorrow. Okay. Gaming corner tonight. That's what I threw.
That's what's up. Okay, that's not screen time. Okay, what's the game?
What's up?
You can enlighten.
So the game is Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb for the original Xbox, Brian.
Okay.
We're playing this game in light of the new Indiana Jones being released this upcoming Friday, dude, in theaters. So figure we play the game. And of course, on the original Xbox, I don't know if you had one.
No, I have a PlayStation.
That was like the first system I ever bought as a kid, like with my own, like I saved up, you know. My dad was like, you gotta learn how to,
What are you doing?
Yeah. So it was cool. Obviously, a lot of nostalgia. I was like testing it out yesterday. It's gonna be a fun time, dude. And I think Mike should be here too. I think he's gonna have a really good time. It's a nice adventure game. I don't know how you feel about adventure games, Brian. I'm sure you don't really like them. But it's gonna be a great time. 6:30 tonight. I'm gonna be outside in that gaming corner, dude, over here.
Oh,
it's gonna be
when
dope,
you said
dude.
Outside, I was thinking literally like
not
the dock outside or something.
That would be sick, dude. Maybe one day.
So 6:30, you said.
6:30.
6:30.
Are you an Indiana Jones fan? Have you seen any of them?
What do you think?
No?
No.
Come on, man. It's a classic movie. Like,
is it?
Yeah, you should sit down with your parents and watch them. They definitely like it.
Renee, have you seen Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
See?
I have to say I'm impressed because last time we went to Renee when she wasn't expecting it, there was a little fumble on the hash brown, but right away she's there. That's why she's the best, Tony, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, as she's flexing over there, I wish we could have had a shot of that.
Oh my goodness.
But other than that, Tony, anything else you wanted to mention here on the way out?
Oh man, I thought there was something sports related, but
Sports related, the Mets.
I can't think of it right now. Maybe it'll come to me tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, great show, dude.
Yeah, and I feel your pain, and I think honestly, you like I know it doesn't do anything for you, but you handle the downtrodden times of your baseball team a lot better than I do. I have to say. Like I know you're beaten down, but I guess I don't know. It almost seems like you're just over it at this point.
Yeah, it's just so tough, dude. I mean, it really felt like this year was going to be kind of different.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny because like every Mets fan says that every year. But at this point, dude, it's like I feel like I want to suit up and put me out there.
But I think too, it does like you see the light here where it's like you've been trying this older player type thing for a couple of years, and it's just like it's not going to work. You need athleticism, speed, and not 40-year-olds.
I know.
So you could say the future's bright or no?
I mean, I don't know. Right now, it doesn't feel so bright. It can be bright.
I mean, I'm almost like expecting, like, let's say the Padres lose 9 out of 10 or something. I really think like he's gonna want to bring Soto to the Mets just because too he's killed it at that ballpark.
Yeah,
as well. I mean, doesn't it make too much sense? And it like brings some enthusiasm. And even if obviously you want them to make the playoffs, but for whatever reason they don't end up making the playoffs, it's close. They end up finishing over 500. He has a great year with the Mets. I mean, at least you have that to look forward to, and obviously a contract extension coming with the trade.
Yeah. I mean, and you talk about youth and athleticism, and that's what he represents.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. You can't have too much of that, and I just don't see with the big tax bill coming, the disappointing results, how a lot of guys aren't going to be sold off in San Diego, other than Fernando Tatis, who's having a great year coming back from the steroid suspension. He is, though.
Yes, no, he is having a great season. And even so, talk about disappointment. I mean, how can you not see the Mets just? I mean, I know Stephen Cohen said he doesn't like to make rash emotional decisions. But I mean, like, when is enough? Like, he's gonna have to clean house too. Yeah, with everyone, really, dude.
Epler, like, I mean, Epler is
gotta get him out of there, dude.
Epler is the equivalent of Boone,
right?
I would say,
and it's like
laughable.
And the only again, everyone, like Ohtani. It doesn't matter anyway, because even if you get Ohtani, Epler's still gonna go. So it's like, why would Ohtani even follow Epler to the Mets when he's probably gonna get canned by the Mets?
Yeah.
So it makes no difference, anyways. It's better that Ohtani comes to a winning organization than to someone he knows.
Competent general manager.
Yeah, exactly, dude. So,
what do you make of the comment by VHS DVD guy?
He says, looking forward to seeing Brian Barnaby dominates in Travelers Cup victory in the near future. I think this VHS DVD guy has a lot of confidence in you, which is great. I'm sure it's confidence building for you. And Brian, in a time where we saw a 37-year-old Keegan Bradley,
right,
from a stone's throw away from us, basically,
right,
win the Travelers. I mean, it could be you.
Yeah.
Now you've been there. You got a feel for the course,
right, right, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Dude.
And a pro, that someone who teaches lessons at a golf course from Great River in Milford, owned by Sacred Heart, made the cut. And
get the
made
fuck out of here.
Probably, only like 100K or 90K, but I'm saying pretty impressive that he was able to finish under par this week at TPC Crownwell.
That's sick. He was like the clubhouse pro from
Great River. Yeah. So
that's
talk about
sick,
a stone's throw. Tony.
Yeah, dude.
Probably within 10 minutes.
Just sneeze away. Michael Thiefel comments at the buzzer as well. Says, totally agree. Going to definitely see it soon. Once this blows up, he can spend more time on the course, dude.
That's why Michael's the best.
Yeah, that's why Michael's the best.
And then he even follows that up with only 90K. Brian, Big Bags.
Yeah.
But the thing I would say, and I know I get it from the surface, it sounds like I'm being ridiculous saying that, but Tony, I mean, the winner won 3.6.
Yeah.
90, I mean, maybe 1999 when VHS was out. Yeah. That was a good payday, no?
God damn, Brian.
Good tie-in, was it not,
yes,
Tony?
Very nice, dude.
Those were the 90s, Tony, okay?
Yeah.
But anyway, I would say a highly successful episode today. Really appreciate everybody tuning in, the comments, the likes, the subscriptions as Michael is cracking up. We encourage everybody to check out the archives on the YouTube page. Tony, Michael, Renee in costume, the merch, the summer collection, downtimetv.com. We want everybody to enjoy the day, enjoy the games, and we will see you mañana.
Hey guys, Tony here from Downtime TV checking in. I want to thank all our fans out there who's been liking, subscribing, sharing our content. You guys are the best. You guys are our bloodline. You make us love what we do. Thanks again.